Hey everyone. Today we are looking at my newest weapon, and okay, so I've been using this thing for 10 minutes, and it is now my favorite weapon. So today we are looking at the Crow Talons, the Bleed King of Dark Souls. So this weapon doesn't do much bleed damage, as you might think. And don't worry about my stats. This is not a build for the Crow Talons. I just happened to get them on this build. Um, so this weapon, it fights a lot like the Cestus. In fact, it's basically the Cestus, but better. Here's the weapon art. If this weapon looks familiar, but you have never actually gotten your hands on it, well, that means you have been in the Ashes of Ariandel DLC and you fought Corvian Knights. Which, unfortunately, there is one or two you will have to fight on the path to get the Crow Talons. But once you figure out how to fight them individually, they aren't that difficult. And if you're having trouble with the Onyx Blade guy, he's vulnerable to bleed. I've heard he's like the dancer, it just poops all over him. So if you're having trouble with him, the Crow Talons are a good option. Super low endurance cost, I find that nice, so you can attack endlessly. It has the Cestus Stunlock combo. It doesn't have much physical damage, but I mean, if this thing is like the other fist weapon I've used before, the Cestus, it gets a huge bump in physical from upgrades. So yeah, I plan to infuse this thing with heavy just because of what build this is. But yeah, it's a dex weapon. It is no doubt a dexterity weapon. So, what I find nice about this weapon though is even though it's claws and all, it still does thrust damage. It's super fast, which doesn't apply to the slash, but it's a really fast weapon. It's got the same critical as the Lost Knight Sword, which is nice. It is considered a claw, but because claw and fist weapons are basically the same thing, like spears and pikes are, I consider them the same thing. One thing the Cestus does have on this thing is strike damage, but hey, this thing does thrust damage, which is still really good. I haven't actually figured out what moves are thrust. Well, obviously that's thrust. I mean, obviously I like this weapon if in like 10 minutes it became my favorite weapon. Maybe not even 10 minutes, actually. But yeah, this weapon is an absolute destroyer. Also, claw weapons seem to have a slightly better moveset than the fist weapons, which I find nice. But yeah, this weapon is no joke. The Crow Talons are definitely a very powerful weapon. They're super fun, very aggressive. So because they already have a C in dex scaling, I'd say infused with sharp, you could probably bump them up to A scaling pretty easily. So another strength assess this has on it is it's not going to bounce off of a shield like this thing keeps doing. I really need to try using a different move because I keep bouncing off. Also, another thing I find nice is like when you do the roll up, it's like the rolling R1 includes an extra roll. See that? Which I think would really throw off your opponent if they don't really know the weapon. This is the first claw weapon I have ever used, and I gotta say I'm quite pleased. The crow talons are amazing. I do wish they were a little easier to get your hands on, but at least you don't have to farm an enemy. At least they're a pickup. But against an enemy with pretty high health or endurance, so an enemy that's a tanky enemy, you're likely to bleed them with this weapon, because you're just going to rapidly build up their bleed bar. And because of the stun lock, it can be very difficult for an enemy in PvE to get out of the bleed. It's the reason I see this as the Blood King of Dark Souls. Not to mention, they have more range than most claws, and with a more widespread array with the blades, and so many blades, that means you're like hitting your enemy with that 30 bleed damage with 5 different blades all at once. So you're really doing 5 times that damage. Now this is information I'm giving you based off the description. I don't know if that's true or not. But if it is, that really makes this the ultimate bleeding weapon of Dark Souls 3. And the ideal build, I think, would be a Dex Luck build. The most powerful, well, one of the most powerful weapons I have ever seen. So that's what I think of my new favorite weapon, the Crow Talons. Next up is my other newest weapon, the Crow Quills. Thank you guys for watching.